I'm not even easing into this because episode 10 had somebody switching sides. Yeah, Tara, I'm talking about you. You watched Natalie take that fall, you nodded along, stayed quiet, and suddenly developed amnesia at the round table, and then you're going to cry afterwards? Girl, please. You all stay with me because we're going to break down everything that happened in this episode.
Kay Unscripted, no teeth restricted. In this journey, watch our stories unfold.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. This is Kay Unscripted. I am your girl Kay, and today we're going to be getting into the Traitors USA season 4, and we're on episode 10. But before we get into this recap, please take a moment and like this video, share it with a friend, comment below, subscribe to the channel. And since you've done that, thank you so much for doing that. Now let's talk about what went down in this episode. So we left off with the shortlisted players meeting in the dungeon, about to find out their fate. As always, we wait until breakfast to find out who was red-rummed. So it's breakfast time the next day. Rob and Maura are the first two to enter into the breakfast room. Maura saying she cannot believe that they're still here. She's telling Rob how much she trusts him and how awful it would be if she finds out that he's a traitor, which he is. Rob, on the other hand, is feeling heavy with all of the lying and scheming that he's been doing in this game, and it's weighing on him. You could tell he looks really tired. I could definitely see the bags under his eyes. Then comes Eric and Mark. Eric feels really nervous because Kristen had called him out, and he's hoping that he defended himself well enough. And since Mark was present, he hopes that doesn't add any kind of suspicion on him. Maura's then saying that she doesn't trust Johnny and Natalie. Rob also speculates that Natalie may have been red-rummed, but it kind of seems like it was Kristen in my opinion. But we're still going to have to wait to see what happens. Then Tara comes into breakfast. She's saying that her radar is off because they banished Steven. She's saying that she's afraid they killed Johnny. Then he comes in. Johnny gives them details on what happened, on how they found out if they would be laid to rest. And as he's giving the story, Eric and Rob look really nervous, or that's how it seemed. The knock comes on the door, and then we see Natalie walking in. So that means that Kristen was laid to rest. Natalie saying that she's going to be more observant because she's been wrong. And then here comes Rob saying he feels defeated and played. As to why he made that comment, I don't even know. It doesn't make sense. Then we see Alan come in, who does his daily ritual of throwing away the picture of the player laid to rest. He does that and then announces that they're near the end. He also gives them a hint on the next mission, saying that it will make their heads spin. Now Natalie and Tara head into a private space to talk, and child, I couldn't help but notice that Natalie looks strong as hell. That girl looks strong, okay? Anyways, Tara tells her that she doesn't think she's the traitor and asks if she thinks it's Rob. Natalie saying that she's trusted Rob so much throughout this game, and they also pointed out that Candice called his name out for a reason. Tara thinks for sure that it's Rob. They kind of discuss what that would mean for the game because Natalie lets her know that Rob has the dagger. They're trying to explore bringing in Maura, but we know she's already drank too much of Rob's bathwater to even realize what's really happening. Now apparently they're not the only ones suspicious of Rob. Max asking him, Rob, if he's a traitor, and he's like no, and that little no wins Mark right away. Nothing more asked, and I'm just like, what? Mark then brings up that Kristen called out Eric, and we see Rob defending Eric, saying he's just always quiet. Rob throws out Natalie's name out there and mentions that when everyone else was voting for Candice, she decided to vote for Tara, which made her seem suspicious. I don't know, at this point, they're just looking for every reason to make somebody look suspicious. Then we see Maura, Tara, and Natalie together. Natalie is questioning why she's still in the game. Little does she know that she's up next to be banished. But Maura also questions the same because she says she's not that good at challenges. We all know that. They explore why Candice wrote Rob's name down. Maura was giving an explanation, but she quickly realized that it didn't make sense. So now she's saying, if Rob is a traitor, that would really hurt her feelings. Meanwhile, Rob, Mark, Johnny, and Eric are sitting outside. Mark's picking Eric's brain about who he thinks could be the traitor, and he says he thinks it's Natalie because she's fully capable of sending all of the gamers home. That could be a strategy that she's using. So after all of the talk, it's now time for the mission. On one vehicle, there's Natalie, Tara, and Johnny. They're convinced that Rob is a traitor. Let's remember that. Meanwhile, in the other vehicle, it's Eric, Maura, Rob, and Mark. And Maura just couldn't wait to spill her guts about what the conversation was between she and the girls. And I'm just like, Maura, you talk too damn much, okay? When you're supposed to talk, you don't talk. When you're not supposed to talk, you're talking. Girl, oh my goodness. Anyways, they pull up to an amusement park and the players have to strap themselves into a spinning ride and hold on. This is what the mission is going to be. Now, when the ride stops, they must find bags of gold hidden inside stuffed animals scattered around the fair's ground. Then they must return to the ride for another spin, so the players must have a bag of gold to be on the ride, and the last man standing wins the shield. Now, what Alan didn't tell them at first is that after every round, one seat will be taken off the ride. Eric and Tara do not get on the ride because of medical reasons, but everyone else is trapped in, and here goes the spin. So for the first round, this is how they got to the ride, right? Natalie first, followed by Maura, then Johnny, then Tara, and then Mark. Now when Rob found his bag, he's running back to the ride, but there's no seat left for him. But like I said, this is a part of the game that Alan didn't tell them at first. Y'all, Rob was so pissed, and then he starts taking it out on Mark, and I couldn't understand why. Suddenly, that's making him look suspicious because he's never behaved that way in the game before. For the first spin, they add $7,500 to the prize pot. Now at the second spin, the persons who get to the ride are Natalie, Tara, Maura, Eric, and Mark. They all make it to the ride. The third round, it's Tara, Eric, Natalie, and Maura who make it to the ride. The fourth round, Eric and Maura are the ones who make it. So it's now Eric and Maura going up against each other to win the shield. Eric bags $750 and he ends up winning the shield. So they won a total of $24,000, which is going towards the prize pot. Now on the ride back to the castle, Rob's saying that Natalie might have been recruited because she's suddenly been distant from him. Meanwhile, in the other car, Natalie is saying that Rob was being very performative. Tara's saying that she's not sure if they should go for Rob this time because he has the dagger and that would issue 2 votes for that round table. So it wouldn't be really smart to vote out Rob just yet. So we get back to the castle. It's lunchtime. Rob and Natalie are having lunch. Rob is saying that he thinks the 2 next targets are him and Mark. As to why he thinks that, I don't know. But we know he's just throwing things out there to get the suspicion of himself. Meanwhile, Mark and Tara have a chat and she thinks that it's Rob. Natalie also joins them and says the thing that stood out to her the most is that she feels like she should have been red rummed already, but there's definitely someone protecting her and she feels like maybe Candice was giving them a clue when she said Rob's name. She also shares why all of a sudden it feels like Rob thinks he's a target when he has never been a target, so that makes him suspicious. We then see a chat with Johnny and Eric. Johnny saying that Natalie is pushing for Rob to be banished and says that it's because Candice left a nugget. She was a traitor and feels like she kind of left them a hint. So they go sit with Maura and Rob. Maura's like, well, what's your take on Natalie? But she then says what she realized at breakfast is that when Christine's name, or when they noticed that Christine was the one who was red rummed, Natalie didn't really have too much of a reaction. and that somehow made her seem like a traitor or whatever. Nothing Miss Bathwater says makes any sense. Now Eric and Rob are co-signing on what Mora said, and we see Johnny seems to be a bit hesitant because he feels like it's Rob, but he's not going to speak up or say that, right? Now when Johnny and Eric left the room, Rob says to Mora, "Oh, we need to get Natalie out," and then it's Tara and Johnny. We're on the same page. This is what he says to Mora. All she said was, "Yeah," but the way she looked at him made it seem like she was onto Rob, like, "Oh, I think it's Rob. I think Rob's the traitor." It looks like she's doing the maths in her head, but did it stick? I think not. Now we get to the round table. Alan tells the players that this is the last time a banished player will reveal if they're a traitor or faithful. The round table then begins, and Tara says she doesn't want to lead the group in the wrong direction, so she will take a back seat. Natalie looks so confused by what she's saying when she was the one who started the Rob theory. Rob calls out Natalie for being distant recently. She counters by pointing out a change in his demeanor the last couple of games. Rob also said that she could be using a strategy to take out all of the gamers. Mark said that this is something he has thought about himself. Then here comes Miss Bandwagon saying that Natalie said all her friends are gone and how they've all lost people. As to why that was brought up is so dumb to me, because none of that is adding up in any way or making it seem like that's evidence to say that Natalie is a traitor. So come again, Miss Bandwagon. Come up with a better explanation, okay? Natalie then brings up the theory that someone had to have been looking out for her and calls out Rob and said he looked defeated at breakfast. She also brings up her evidence, Candice's 2 votes against him. Then Miss Bandwagon jumps in to defend her Bathwater King by saying that Candice said it was a throwaway vote. Sorry. Mark jumps in and says Candice is very smart and that actually makes sense. He also thought about that theory. So Mr. Snakeboy is feeling the heat and asks if they want him to defend himself. Well, Mr. Snakeboy, there's no need to do that because you already have Miss Bandwagon and everyone else so far up your tush. They're always defending you. They're not even giving you a chance to defend yourself. Natalie then throws Tara under the bus by saying she was the one who said this can be a breadcrumb. And instead of Tara saying, "Yeah, I did say it," she said, "Yeah, but I also said it could be a wild card." Not Tara backing out. Not Tara acting like she didn't say what she said. Not Tara not standing on business and keeping her word. What is with all of y'all coming into these round tables and changing y'all's minds? I really need to know the answer to that question. Natalie calls them out by saying that she trusted them. Y'all said one thing to me, but you're acting differently now. She should have called their name. She should have called them by name, in my opinion. Because what they don't know is that they're up next. Now, Tara's acting like she doesn't know what Natalie's talking about. And Natalie, quite frankly, isn't backing down. Tara calls her back up with Johnny. And he's now saying, "Oh, we were talking numbers, but I never committed to going that way." So Natalie looks confused. Then comes Miss Bandwagon coming for Tara. Because you're coming for her king, so she definitely has to stand up for Mr. Snakeboy, right? Mora's acting like this is Love Island and she feels or thinks that she's going to get picked to go on a date. We know Mr. Snakeboy has been picking her up for these challenges, but girl, simmer down. He's not going to pick you, okay? Because the way you all are going about defending Mr. Snakeboy is so crazy to me. It doesn't make sense to me at all. Alan then says that the time to talk is over. He then mentions the dagger and asks if that person would like to use the dagger. Here comes Mr. Snakeboy putting his hand up to use the dagger. So he gets 2 votes for this round table. It's now time to vote. Everyone voted for Natalie, but there was just one vote for Tara, which came from Natalie. Now, while standing in the circle of truth, Natalie says, "You know, my whole life I've wanted to be so strong, and I try really hard to present as tough, and sometimes it comes with a negative of being judged, of being ruthless, cutthroat. But today a gamer got played. I am a faithful, so good job, guys." Tara starts crying and saying that she doesn't want to play the game anymore. She feels like a fool. She keeps making those mistakes. And she also said that she's okay with being red rummed. Mark comforts her as she breaks down and she's crying because she feels so bad that Natalie just went home as a faithful. Now, Miss Bandwagon and Snake Boy are in the kitchen area. She's saying, "Oh, I don't know why Tara and Johnny would want to convince Natalie that you're a traitor. She is so gullible," like Mr. Snake Boy said in his confessional. Tara's feeling bad. She and Johnny enter where Snake Boy and Bandwagon are, Miss Bandwagon. She is feeling bad. She's trying to explain herself. Mr. Snake Boy leaves the room. He's like, "Well, I don't want to hear none of it, right? Because, you know, he has to pretend." But anyways, he says in his confessional that this was the toughest roundtable so far, but he had to do what he had to do. Now he then joins Mark there on the pool table, and Mark is now questioning why Eric didn't speak up at all at the roundtable, and feels like this is the same thing, same concern that Christine had with Eric, and wondering if Eric is a traitor. Now he's not the only one, because while Johnny, Maura, and Tara are sitting together, they think that Eric was just too quiet and has been really quiet at the past couple of roundtables, and he has flown under the radar. Now Johnny in his confessional says that he thinks it's Rob and Eric. Now he's not wrong, but we know how this game goes. They always come up with a theory and never stick to it. Now in the turret, Snake Boy and Eric are discussing what went down. Snake Boy is telling Eric that he's too quiet, and I kind of felt like he was a bit disappointed that Eric didn't stand up for him when he has had to defend Eric many times. Eric is saying that he didn't know what to say at the round table. Alan then interrupts them by telling them Red Rum will be a scorcher. All the players will be summoned to meet him outside. He will then reveal which player they chose to Red Rum, and this will happen in front of everyone. They get to discuss and decide on who they're going to lay to rest. We then hear Alan, or we see him preferably, ringing a bell. All of the players head out to see what's happening. There is a giant coffin inside of a circle in the front of the castle. Alan says that he has some upsetting news and that the traitors have selected their next victim. Everyone is going to have to witness who the traitor's next victim is. Now we see Maura and Tara kind of whispering to each other that they think it's either one of them. But you know, as always, we're going to have to wait till the next episode to find out who was Red Rum. So tell me, who do you think was Red Rum? Do you think it's Tara? Or do you think it's Maura? I think it's Johnny. But that is my opinion. Please share all of your thoughts with me. This is all I have for you guys on the recap of the Traitors Season 4 Episode 10. Guys, we're near the finale, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. But until then, like this video, share it with a friend, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!